Hi gang! In this video, I'm going to show you how to draw a pair of 5-pocket jeans. Before we get started, I'd really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. Okay, let's get started. We always want to start by working on a template, and you can download my template for free. There's a link in the description below. I'm going to select D for default to make sure I'm using a white fill and a black stroke, and P for pen tool. I'm going to start a little bit below the waist on the template because I don't want to draw a pair of high-waisted jeans, so we're going to click on the lower line for a more natural waist. I'm going to go down to the hem of the pant, but you'll notice that this particular template has the legs kind of close together, and I want to give this a little more breathing space. So I'm not going to follow the template exactly. I'm going to move out from the template just a little bit and click. I'll hold my shift key and click the width I want the pant leg to be, and I'm going to do kind of a straight leg pair of pants, and then we're going to go back and click right in the crotch area. Now we can shape it. Going to grab the anchor point tool, shortcut is Shift C, and I'm going to grab the hip and curve it out a little bit so it follows the line of the template. Now, in order to keep these from looking like mommy jeans, I do have a little trick, and that is to take the inside area and bow it out a little bit. It gives it a much more designer look and less of a mommy jeans kind of look. The other thing I want to do is curve the hemline just a tiny bit because it looks better. With the black arrow, I'm going to select all of this, click O to reflect, Alt or Option click on the guide, select vertical and copy. Now I have both sides of my jeans. With the black arrow, I'm going to select both pieces, right click, join, right click, join. And now I have a closed path that can be filled. The rest of the details we can lay on top of this, and we don't have to really worry about closing any paths. But I do want to keep them organized and well grouped so it's easier to work on the back view. The anchor point tool again, Shift C, I'm going to curve down the front waistband a little bit to give it a nicer shape. With the pen tool, I'm going to draw a line that goes straight from one side to the other, and you'll notice as I hover the pen tool right now, it's giving me the plus sign. I don't want to add an anchor point, I want to start a new line. So in order to change it, I'm going to hold down my shift key. It gives me the asterisk, and now I can go ahead and click. While still holding my shift key, I'm going to click on the other side. That guarantees my line is the same distance down on either side. Switch to the anchor point tool and curve this so that it's parallel to the top of the waistband. With my white arrow, I'm going to select the top line, copy it, Control or Command C, paste in front, Control or Command F, and then nudge it down a couple of clicks with my arrow key. And then we're going to go to the graphic styles where I already have my single stitch set up. And now I've got my stitch and it also removed the fill. So it's a much faster way to work. We'll do the same on the bottom. I'm going to select this line, copy, Control or Command C, paste in front, Control or Command F, nudge it up, and apply my stitches. Let's add a center front seam since you can't make a pair of pants without them. We are going to hit P for pen tool and draw a line that goes straight down the front. So we're going to click at the upper part of the waistband, hold the shift key and click down in the crotch area. And we want this stroke to be a 1-point black stroke. So I'm actually going to hit default. And then I'm going to grab my fill color and change it to no fill so that I don't have a fill on this particular line. Now we're going to need stitches next to this. So while we're here, let's copy this, paste in front, and nudge it over. And let's apply our stitches again. Now, all pants need a crotch break. And to draw a crotch break, grab the pen tool. We're going to draw a small diagonal line that goes straight across the crotch area. This should be a 1-point stroke with no fill. And then if you go to the stroke panel, you can drop down in the profiles and select this profile here to give it a little more flair. The next thing we need to draw is the J-stitch for the zipper. So with the pen tool, I'm going to click up here on the lower part of the waistband, hold my Shift key to draw a straight line coming down, and while still holding my Shift key, I'm going to go straight to the center front seam and click there too. So now I've got this backwards L. We can go to our graphic styles and apply the double needle stitch. And to make this beautiful J shape, I'm going to take my white arrow, click on this corner anchor point, grab the corner rounder, and drag it up. And now we've got a beautiful double needle stitch for the J stitch. Now the way jeans are made, there's a single stitch coming down center front, but in this bottom section, it's a double stitch. The way we're going to handle this is to select the Add an Anchor Point tool, which is the plus sign on your keyboard. I'm going to click right in here, so just above my J stitch, to add an anchor point, and then go up to the control panel to this little pair of scissors and cut it. So now I've separated the top from this little bottom piece. I can take my black arrow, I'm going to release my selection and click on this bottom piece. Going to nudge it over again with my arrow key, and I'm going to apply my double needle stitch. Now we need one more thing to complete this section, and that is a bar tack for strength. So I'm going to grab my bar tack from my symbols, drag it into place, and it's going to sit right on top of that double needle stitch. And that takes care of the fly area. Now it's a good idea to select and group all of these pieces together to make it easier to work with. And so I'm going to grab the J stitch, the bar tack, and the double stitch on the bottom, and right click, group, just to keep them all together and to keep my layers from getting out of hand. Because if we don't group like things together, we're going to end up with a whole lot of layers here. While we're at it, we can select the stitching on the waistband, right click, and group that together as well. And this helps keep the layers more organized. The next thing we're going to do is, let's deal with the button here. So I'm going to grab a buttonhole from my symbols and put that into place. And then we're going to grab a button and put that into place. So let's move that. And this button looks a little bit big to me. So I think we will scale it down. I'll select it, double click on the scale tool, and let's try 90%, I think will work nicely, and click OK. That feels better to me. And that being the case, maybe we'll scale the buttonhole as well. Double click, 90, and click OK. Now we can work on the pockets. With the pen tool, we're going to draw a line, and again, this is a visual from here to about here. D for default. With the anchor point tool, Shift C, we're going to curve it and give it a nice pocket shape. And we don't want to fill on it, so I'm going to remove the fill. Now we're going to need a row of double stitches next to the pocket. So again, with the pen tool, I'm going to draw a line equidistant from the first line on both sides. And then with the anchor point tool, I can curve it to match the curve of the first line I drew. Go to my graphic styles and click on my double needle stitch. And if I need to, I can tweak this a little bit. I think it should actually be closer to the first line I drew. So with my white arrow, I'm going to grab this top anchor point and nudge it in a little bit. I'll grab the lower one and nudge it up a little bit. And then I can adjust these handles so that the distance from the pocket line is consistent all the way around. And that looks pretty good. Now, a pocket on a pair of jeans also has a pocket bag, which is generally stitched to the front of the jeans. So we are going to grab the pen tool and draw a line that goes from the pocket down a little ways to where the pocket bag would potentially end. And then with your anchor point tool, we're going to give it a tiny curve so it matches the curve of the pants, and then we can apply our single stitch. The last thing we need on the pocket are rivets for strength. So I'm going to grab my rivet from my symbols, and one is going to go at the top of the pocket, and one is going to go in the bottom of the pocket. And these are for reinforcement so that we don't rip our pockets. Now, it's not a bad idea to group all of these pieces together. I'll select them from my layers panel this time. All the pieces that make up my pocket, right-click, group, and now we can reflect them to the other side. So O to reflect, Alt or Option click on the guide, select vertical, and copy. Now we've got pockets on the other side, but we need to add one more piece because on this side of the jeans, we've got a watch pocket. With the rectangle tool, I'm going to draw a rectangle that's about, oh, so big. And we are going to hit D for default because it's not stitches. It needs to be a pocket shape. And I'm going to rotate this just a little bit. So click R for rotate, and then just click and drag. Whoops. Apparently, I had my rivets selected, and it wanted to rotate those too. So let's make sure I only have my watch pocket selected. R for rotate, and we're going to just rotate this into place a little bit so it flows with the pants. We don't need this whole piece here. So what we're going to do is select this, hold the Shift key, and also select the pocket. Go over to the Shape Builder tool, and we are going to Alt click or Option click to delete these pieces, and now we've got our pocket as a closed piece. With the pocket selected, Object, Path, Offset Path. Now, when you offset a path, your default is going to be 10. And that means it's going to offset the path by 10 points around the outside of the path. But we're doing this to add stitches, so we want it to offset on the inside of the path. To do that, you need to change it to a negative number. But negative 10 is way too much. We only need this to offset 1 or maybe 1.5 since we're going to add a double stitch. So let's do 1.5 and click OK. And you can see it offset to the inside. We'll go to our graphic styles and select the double stitch. Now, we don't need it on the bottom, so with the white arrow, I'm going to select the center of the bottom part of the stitch and click delete. And I have to delete one more bit here to get this corner that turned. Since these stitches are not going all the way down, I'm just going to grab this with the white arrow and drag them down so that they look like they're actually covering the whole watch pocket. And again, we need rivets because these are stress points. So we will grab a rivet and drag it out. And let's make a copy of it. Whoop, and put it on this side. And that takes care of our pockets. Let's take all the pieces that make up this watch pocket and group those together. Now we need to add the belt loops. Now I happen to have belt loop symbols, but let's go ahead and make them. We're going to draw a rectangle, and the size of the belt loop is going to go from the top of the waistband down below the waistband, maybe a ½ inch below the waistband. And it's going to be a 1-point black stroke with a white fill. We need stitches to go around this, so we are going to take the white arrow. And you know what? This will be easier to work on if we do it away from the pant. So let's do that. I'm going to click on one side, copy, paste in front, nudge it over, click on our stitches, click on the other side, copy, paste in front, nudge it over, and click on our stitches. The last part of this is we need a bar tack at both the top and the bottom so that it won't tear off the pants. So I'm going to grab my bar tack, and we're going to put one up on the top, and we also need one on the bottom. So I'm going to grab that and make a copy and drag it down. Now, if you don't have a bar tack in your symbols, let me show you how to make one. Take your pen tool and draw a line segment the length that you would like the bar tack to be. We're going to go to the stroke panel, make sure the line weight is 0.25, round, round, turn off dash line, and it should have no fill and be a black stroke. With this selected, we're going to go up to Effect, Distort and Transform, Zigzag. Now, initially, it looks terrible. That's okay. We're going to change the size to relative. And 10% will probably work, but if it looks a little tall to you, you can lower it. Let's try 8. Then ridges per segment. You're going to just drag the slider to the right until it feels appropriately dense to be a bar tack. You know what? I think I'm going to go back to 10. I think I like that better. All right, so I ended up with 10% and 15. And now I'm going to click, well, let's turn on preview and just make sure. Great. Click OK. And once you've got it completed, you're going to want to save it as a bar tack. So you can just drag it right into your symbols and label it bar tack. Once you've got your belt loop completed, it's not a bad idea to save this as a symbol as well. So we'll select it, drag it into the symbols, and label it belt loop. Now we can put them in place. One of them goes over here, right next to the pocket on the side with the J-stitch. And I'm going to click R for rotate. I'm going to click on this upper left-hand corner to make it my pivot point and rotate this out just a little bit. Now I'm going to select it, click O to reflect, Alt or Option click on the center guide, and vertical copy. And there's the one on the other side. We're in the home stretch now. Now, jeans are going to have a seam and a top stitch or a double needle stitch that we're going to see on the inside of the legs. And that's because the front pant or the front pattern piece is generally narrower than the back pattern piece. So to do this, we're going to use the white arrow, copy this line, or select it, copy it, paste in front, move it over, and we're going to apply our double needle stitch. We're going to do the same on the other side. Select it with the white arrow, copy it, paste in front, and nudge it over, and double needle stitch. Last thing, we need a hem on the bottom. So let's zoom in a little bit and go ahead and add a hem. With the white arrow, we'll select the hemline, copy, paste in front, nudge it up 3 clicks maybe, and we'll give it a single stitch. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. Copy, paste in front, nudge it up, and give it a single stitch. That takes care of the bottom of the pants. So let's look at the top again. There's one more thing we need to do, and that is we need to see the back of the waistband. So let's click on the pant, copy, Control C, Command C, paste in back, Control or Command B. Now we're going to grab the anchor point tool, Shift C, and click right in the middle and drag this up so we can curve. Come on. Why are you being difficult? There we go. So we can curve the back of the pant. Now this should be filled with gray. I've got a graphic style here, but you can also double click on the fill. The gray I like is CCC, CCC. Click OK. The last thing that's missing is the top row of stitches. And there's a couple of ways we can do that. But we've already got a row of stitches here, right? So let's select the stitches from the front, copy them, paste in front, and then grab that. Whoops, we're going to use the anchor point tool and grab that and drag it up so it's properly in line with the back. But now we need to send it to back because it's still too far in front. We can take a look at the layers, find this piece we have selected here, and it's right here. It looks like, though, it is inside the front group, but that's okay. We're going to grab it and we're going to drag it right in front of the gray pants. So I'm just going to click on that and drag it right on top of the gray, and now it's in the correct place. and the front of our jeans is complete. We'll select the entire thing and right-click, Group. And now we can do the back. Hold your Alt or Option key and drag the fronts out of the way. We're going to work on the ones that are still on the template, and that's going to be our back. Now, rather than ungroup this, I prefer to work in isolation mode. Isolation mode is kind of like climbing inside the group without having to ungroup everything. So let's double click to enter isolation mode. And we know we're in isolation mode because if you look at your layers, it says isolation mode. Everything else kind of grayed out and there's a gray bar across the top of the screen. We can start deleting the elements we don't need on the back of the pants. So we'll get rid of the pocket, the watch pocket, and this pocket. We don't need the fly, right? We don't need these stitches because we only see them on the front of the pant. We don't need the button. We'll drag out new belt loops later, so we're not going to worry about that. And we need to change this from the front of the pant to the back of the pant. So what happens here is we don't need the front anymore. So I'm going to click on it and hit delete. We do have the back, so let's click on that, hit D for default to change it to white. I'm going to remove this top stitch here. Whoops, those were grouped together. So rather than ungroup them, I'm going to switch to my group selection tool. And now I can select this upper stitch and click delete. Now we've got to adjust the shape here so that the lower part of the waistband is parallel to the upper part of the waistband. We're going to grab the anchor point tool to do that. So I'll grab the stitches first. Whoops. Let's delete those to keep them out of our way. We'll grab the stitches first and move this up so that the shape is parallel to the one above. And then we can grab the bottom of the waistband and do the same thing. Now we've got our waistband complete. Let's go ahead and lower our center back seam. So we want it to go up to the waistband, not beyond. And we need a row of stitches here. These go on the left side. So we're going to copy this, paste in front, nudge it over, and apply our double needle stitch. Now the crotch break in the back is going to look a little different from the crotch break in the front. We're going to select it, grab one of the side handles, hold the Alt or Option key, and we're going to drag it out much longer so it's kind of like it's cupping underneath the butt. And that's what the back is going to look like. Now we're going to add our yoke. We're going to start a little bit below the waistband, and we're going to drop even lower than that down our center line, and then back up in line with that first click on the other side. And your smart guides should pop up and show you that little intersect. We want to make sure that has no fill, and we need to add stitches to this. So we can go ahead and select it, copy it, paste in front, and we're going to nudge it down a couple of clicks and select our double needle stitch. All right, let's add our belt loops. Since we already saved them as a symbol, we can just grab our belt loop symbol. One of them is going to go right here in the center, and you can line it up with your stitches. Let's Alt or Option drag a copy to the right. Click R for rotate. I'm going to click in the upper right hand corner to make that my pivot point, and then drag around a little bit to rotate, and we'll reflect it to the other side. So we'll select it, O to reflect, Alt or Option on your guide, vertical, and copy. So now we've got our belt loops in place. We can add our pockets and then we're done. To create your pocket, we're going to start with a rectangle and go ahead and draw a rectangle the width you would like your pocket, but a little bit shorter because we're going to extend this. With the white arrow, I'm going to select the two lower corners, hit S on my keyboard for scale, and then drag this in a little bit to taper the bottom. I'm going to grab the Add an Anchor Point tool, which is the plus sign on your keyboard, and add an anchor point right in the center bottom of the rectangle. Use the arrow key to nudge it down a bit and create that pocket shape. Let's add stitches. Go up to Object, Path, Offset Path, and we're going to do this at just -1 because we're going to add a single stitch. Click OK, and we're going to add our single stitch to that. With the white arrow, I'm going to select and delete this top stitch line. Let's select the pocket again and offset again. Object, Path, Offset Path. This time we're going to do -2 and click OK and apply our single stitch. With the white arrow, I'm going to select the top row of stitches and nudge it up to the top and then delete it. Now, the way a lot of pockets are done, these two inner lines are actually a little bit further away from the edge than the rest of the stitches. So I'm going to grab the top anchor point of each of these stitches, S for scale, and I'm going to drag them in just a little bit to create a shape that looks like this. I'm going to go back to my pen tool and draw a line across the top and apply my double needle stitch to that. And now we just need to drag out 2 more bar tacks. So we're going to go back to our symbols and grab 1 bar tack, and it goes over here. And we can Alt or Option drag one to the other side. And that's going to reinforce our pockets so they don't come off every time we stick our hands in them. And now let's group all of these elements together. I'm going to go to my layers and just grab them here. So I go from my bar tack, my upper stitches, my lower stitches, and the outline of my pocket. Right click and group. And it's not a bad idea to turn this into a symbol as well, because we can use it again at a later date. And now we just need to add this to the other side. I'm going to adjust the placement just a little bit, move it over. And now Auto Reflect, Alt or Option click on the center guide, vertical, copy. And we've got our pockets. Let's zoom out a little bit. All right, we're going to double click on the page to exit isolation mode. And we are complete. If you learned something new, I'd appreciate a like. And if there's anything else you'd like me to cover, please let me know in the comments. If you want to learn how to make the double needle top stitch or the shank button that I used in this video, I'll link the videos for those as well. See you next time.